Hi everyone, it's great to see you. Today is the day that I'm going to start to pull out some of the annuals and the planters, and this is always really tough for me to decide when to make this move because I want to keep the plants as long as I can. But I have decided that supposedly at the end of this week we are supposed to have a frost. It is chilly here today. You can tell the New Guineas are looking sad. The mandevilla have pretty much stopped blooming. They don't like it. They're tropical. This is not making them happy. So, okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, one thing to keep in mind as you start to get rid of the annuals in your planters, it is so much easier if you let them dry out a bit. Then you're not lifting these huge really saturated root balls. You can usually much more easily dispose of them. So I stopped watering these a couple days ago. Now the tricky thing is I want to keep the creeping Jenny because usually that will die back to the roots, but it will come back in the spring. So I need to keep that alive and not pull it out and get rid of everything else. So I'm going to do the best we can. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, so I figured it was a good day. It was a sign that I should get out here and tackle this project. Beautiful. And it didn't come out with too much dirt here. This is the good thing about being attacked by my mandevilla. It's not happy. I'm going to pull it out soon. It doesn't take a lot of the extra dirt with it. It came out nice and easily. Does make a tad of a mess. What can you say? Wow, I did not realize I only put in 4 New Guinea impatiens on each of these planters, and they just grew huge. That is amazing. This gives you an idea of how much growth you had beforehand. Now my petunias, which I loved, are kind of tangled in here. They're a little trickier to get out. I really don't want to leave any extra things in here. And then I'm going to take my scissors. Okay, we're also going to just make that a little shorter so it's easier. I'm going to take my scissors and take this great creeping Jenny and just cut it back here because my guess is within a week or two it's going to shrivel up, it turns brown, it falls out. And I didn't realize that we were warm enough here for it to overwinter and keep the roots alive. So in the past, I've always just gone in and dug that out too. By accident last year, I left some in a planter and it came back. So now I'm like, oh, it can come back in all the planters. That would be great. Like a major haircut. Okay, now we're going to try for the big mandevilla. This is always tricky, but hopefully it's rooted in enough that it just sort of all comes out. Look at this. Ugh, that is beautiful. I just have to hold it up. I feel like I conquered the beast here. Now, the tough thing, of course, is that I want to save my bamboo posts for next year because I know I will want another mandevilla next year. Okay. Oof. Okay, we're going to have to do some more trimming. It does not want to give this one support back. There we go, I won. Okay, we're gonna head over to this side here, if I can remember what I did with my scissors. There we go. Okay, we had some more work done on our stairs last week, having them point tucked for the, I call it the grout, but you don't really grout, bluestone, having it redone, and boy, they came out looking so nice. I just love this entryway and I want to make sure that we keep it up. We also, probably since my last video here, added 2 handrails, which we probably should have had handrails there the whole time, but those are going to be fabulous, especially when it starts to get a little icy. We don't want anybody falling. And I'm sort of wondering if I can climb something up there next year. It might give me another opportunity to grow things. I talked to my mom this morning and told her that my goal was to clean these out, and she was not ready yet to part with her annuals. She's going to wait till they actually die, which I don't blame her, because you really want every single moment with your plants, but I just really wanted to catch these before the rain, and it's so much easier. Once these get heavy, that heavy soil is really tricky for me to manage. These are huge. Oops, I lost some creeping Jenny. Oh well, I think we have enough. This time I'm going to take the TP off first, I think. Oops. Looks good. And then we can lift this part out. Nice and dry. I love that. Okay. So for the winter, we're going to change things up a little bit here. You know I love the bag and the pot method. And usually I would have put that mandevilla in a pot, but I didn't last year. I can't even remember why I didn't, because I sure wish I had now. Because all these little roots where it grew out, you wouldn't have to worry about. But that's okay. We're going to make this work. I'm going to slide this dirt up the best I can. Now, if you remember, I have some landscape fabric coating this. You can see it along the back. Oh, and here's a nice earthworm. We'll keep you there. And I'm going to do the best I can to nestle this in. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to be able to put my bag in here and change it out. I could put some mums in now if I wanted. There's all sorts of different things. Last year I just dropped in a really nice Christmas arrangement, and looking for my scissors again. Always step back and make sure your pot is not as tilted as I have. I think what I'm going to do is have to take some of this dirt out. Okay, let's do it. It's really worth the time to get this nestled in there correctly, because probably this will stay in here right through the spring. If I do a good enough job, maybe in the spring it can stay. So let's take that time right now to do it. Okay, I have these. These are really pretty good. I think I'm going to put these to the side for now. We'll put them back in. Yeah. There we go. Good enough. I think the easiest option is to do this. Don't do this somewhere that you don't mind a little dirt in your yard. I have acorns blocking the drainage hole here. That would not be good, huh? We have 2 big oak trees above us, which I love. But you know, oak trees sort of run on cycles for their acorns. Last year was not a big acorn year. Usually it's every other year, and that's what I'm finding. So the year before that, tons of acorns, and this is going to be a very prolific year. Sounds like something is trying to come through the roof when you're laying in bed at night. Okay, you can tell we had a lot going on in these planters. Look at this. But I'm going to put this back in now. This is going to be much better. Okay, let me get some fresh potting mix. Okay, So now we have that cleared out. I can set this right in here, and you're still going to need to step back and make sure that you are even. Now the interesting thing about this, and Dan just pointed this out, is if you had a planter with a flat bottom with the drainage hole in the middle like this one does, and then you put this on top, this might block the drainage hole. However, this is a real semicircle here, so it's curved underneath, and you can't see it, but there's space, like it touches in the front and back here, but on the sides there's about 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. I can put my finger between the landscape fabric and the pot. So there's definitely going to be drainage to that hole at the bottom. You want to make sure, one of the most important thing in the winter is for your planters, you have to keep them moist enough they don't die, but you don't want them sitting in water. And a lot of times if the drainage holes get blocked, I know for me, I don't realize it, and then you can have your roots rot out. Okay, 2 people are really good for this job. If you're doing this on your own, I would just recommend you do a little dirt at a time, maybe not hold the whole bag up, because it's going to jostle your inset pot here, and it probably will move it out of position. Okay, here we go. Oof. Okay. Okay, I think it'll stay. Thank you. Once you get that in there, you're gonna pack that dirt around so that it's really firmly in place down at the bottom. Now, as we get colder weather, this is actually probably going to freeze in place, and that is fine. Okay, just gonna top it off. Oh, works out very well with these urns. They pretty much take 1 bag of potting mix, maybe a bit more, but I'm going to be doing my fancy holiday decorations in here, so this should be fine. I'll just push some there. Beautiful. Now I do want to see if this creeping Jenny is going to come back and be able to overwinter. So here it is. I'm going to give it a haircut all the way down now, because I really don't want to see it looking ugly in the winter. And we're just going to plant it in. If I lose it, it's not the end of the world, of course. But if it comes back, wouldn't that be lovely? Okay. Put some over here. Now in the planter that it did overwinter for me, I added some new fresh creeping Jenny in there, but boy, it was nice to have a little head start. Okay, this looks great. We'll just stick that in there. Okay. Whew. Now, let me tell you what I think I'm going to be doing in here. I'm very excited about this. So this is Thunderhead, a Japanese black pine. You've been seeing me unbox these fabulous conifers, and most of these are, you know, cold resistant down to zone 3. So here we are, zone 7A, 6B. They're going to be fine being in a planter. You want to think you don't want anything in a planter that can't go to I want to say stations, 2 zones below where you would have plants in the ground. So I want to make sure my conifers that are in planters can survive to zone 4. Zone 3, we should definitely be fine, and I just love how this is looking. I'm thinking that I'm going to be building this up and using some of these conifers as these centerpieces. Now these are small, so I'm going to need to put a plant riser, a pot riser in here or something underneath so that they peek out above, and then I'm thinking maybe Christmas balls, or you could do pumpkins, something around it to show it off. I think it's going to be adorable. Today is sort of our setup day, and then you'll see how it comes when we put it all together in the future. So let's head over to the other planter. I'm going to do the exact same thing. Okay, first we're going to take out the creeping Jenny. Trying to get that good root system, because that's really the part that will overwinter and give me those great plants next year. That looked so great. And when I think of it, I spent a lot of money on creeping Jenny this year. Oh, look at this. We're going right for the garbage can. Okay, so I just carried that directly into our compost bin, not the garbage bin, but the one that we put all of our, live greens and dirt and stuff in. There are a number of spiders crawling around in there at the moment, so I did a distance, hold that up and dump it quickly. Get all the acorns out here so none of them sink into that drainage hole. This looks really good though. And look at how much easier it is to work with because this is dry. I can just scoop it out. Piece of cake. Okay, let's grab my landscape fabric. There we go. And really this is just protecting that hole at the bottom. Okay, here comes the other nursery pot. I feel like we're pretty centered. That's good. How's that look, Dan? This way? Woo, dipping. Okay. Ooh, this looks tricky. Switch sides. Thank you. And we'll nestle this pot in here nice and tight again. We want to keep it looking like it's still centered. It's all the way down to the bottom. This is good. Now this landscape fabric has seen better days. I think this is going to be year 3 of using it. So this is probably the last season. Whenever I completely redo this again, my guess is we will completely switch that. Let's see how it looks. Okay. So we're a little tip sideways. Now I don't find it too bad if it's a little crooked because you're putting something in it and it will spill over the edges and sort of hide that. But if you can get it pretty straight, that's probably a good thing. Let's put that creeping Jenny back in. And I'm going to trim off the tops again. And we'll see how it does for next year. I suppose part of how it does will depend on how mild a winter we have. Which, for the sake of the hydrangeas, I hope we have a nice mild winter. Wow, okay, so that was not a beautiful result here, but a very necessary result. We are ready to start with a clean palette and get some beautiful things in our urns up here as the weather gets cooler. I obviously have a lot of cleaning up to do, so I won't make you sit there and watch me clean up the driveway, but that is certainly my next step. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.